Hi, everybody. This is my first book signing, so I'm about as competent at this as Congress is at doing whatever it's supposed to be doing. I'm just going to read a little bit from the book. And what I'll start with is the back. When Jake Devlin, a mellow, laid-back beach bum, begins writing a controversial novel about Gordon Dunn, a reclusive, iconoclastic billionaire who buys the United States and sets out to fix all of its problems on behalf of we the people, he knows that Dunn's autocratic but well thought out and common sense policies will rub corrupt politicians, lobbyists, businessmen, televangelists, speculators, union and mob bosses, and hundreds of other greedy power players the wrong way, dangerously so. But when Jake is confronted on the beach in Bonita Springs, Florida, about his background and motives for writing the book, little does he know that his relaxed lifestyle will inexorably be driven into confusion, chaos, paranoia, for good reasons, and a few unbelievably exotic interludes. Assassination plots, death threats, betrayals, extortion, bribery, ditzy beach bunnies, and scrumptious brownies complicate his life and embroil him in a complex web of intrigue with a beautiful woman who may or may not be hiding a deep, dark, and painful secret. But is Jake carrying his own deep and possibly dark secret? Begin your journey through this absurdist blend of fiction and reality and some obligatory gratuitous eroticism and see for yourself. Now, Jake Devlin is my pen name, and he's also a character in the book he's writing, but it ain't written in the first person. Now, I'll start with a disclaimer on the copyright page, and I see we have a couple of people that are either current or former intelligence people, so this is for you guys. This material has not been reviewed by the CIA, FBI, Secret Service, or any other U.S. government agency to prevent the disclosure of classified information or operations. Any similarity of fictional classified information in this novel to actual clarified information is purely coincidental. Nothing herein should be construed as asserting or implying U.S. government endorsement of the contents. Put simply, it's all fiction, readers. And now the first prologue. Now, I'm not giving anything away by reading this, but it's just the early setup. Immediately after President Obama, Friday, December 9th, 2011, almost 2 years ago. Immediately after President Obama signed the 6th Save the Economy Act in a videotaped ceremony, the United States was sold thanks to 3 clauses that had been covertly inserted into the bill, which no one in the Congress read before voting it into law. The price was a grand total of 82.7 cents, about 83 pennies, and that was significantly above market value. The buyer was a reclusive billionaire named Gordon Nolan Dunn, who was present at the ceremony. He handed the Treasury Secretary a $1 bill and said, "Keep the change, Tim." Then turned to the president, said, "You're fired," and handed him his termination papers. Dunn then sat in the chair just vacated by the flabbergasted now ex-president, glanced around the Oval Office, and began a lengthy, exhaustive restructuring of the federal government. And at 8 p.m. sharp, preceded by intense media speculation, Gordon Nolan Dunn held his first live broadcast to the nation. And that broadcast happened to be seen right here in Sneaky Pete's, except I named it Slinky Joe's because back then I didn't have their permission to use their real name. So, one of the things Dunn says there is, in fact, many of you have realized that our political system has almost completely hijacked and corrupted the so-called representative democracy envisioned by our founding fathers, and that both the Democrats and the Republicans have put the interests of party and the special interests they serve and themselves above the country as a whole, using all of our citizens as unwilling or sometimes willing pawns in their political power plays. It's like the Democrats and Republicans are children sitting in a sandbox, throwing sand at each other. But that sandbox is on the aft deck of the Titanic, with no one up in the wheelhouse steering the ship away from the icebergs they've all been warned about. Like many of our citizens, I've become disgusted with the continuous political posturing and the inability of our politicians to set aside their constant quest for re-election and come to agreement on major issues confronting the United States. Just look back to how the President and Congress dropped the ball and virtually ignored the ideas from the Simpson-Bowles Commission and the incongruously named Super Committee. And don't forget the idiot brinkmanship and mudslinging in the debates about raising the debt ceiling this past summer. To finally come to an agreement just one day before the deadline was not only irresponsible, but should have been criminal. And don't forget that that debacle triggered a ratings downgrade of the United States, the first ever in our history. Now, a third of the book deals with Gordon Dunn and his country fixing process. The other third, because I've lived here in Bonita, or the other 2/3, is set in and around Bonita Beach, and I use a lot of local places. So Sneaky Pete's is Slinky Joe's, Doc's becomes Pop's. The people that gave me permission to use their name, Marty and Dave, gave me permission to use Fishbuster Charters, they're in there. And Master Bait and Tackle, I hope I paused in the right place there, gave me permission to use their name. So they're in there. And some other places I just renamed. And give you a little bit of the first part that happens in Bonita Springs, and it happens 6 months before the guy buys the country, and it's the author who's writing that. June 12th, 2011. In total darkness, a silent black amphibious helicopter landed briefly at the shoreline of Bonita Beach. 6 men and 1 woman slid wraith-like onto the sand with their equipment, and within 10 seconds, the helo disappeared into the night in near total silence. An hour or so later, roughly dawn, a frail elderly woman wearing a t-shirt that read "Proud Member of the Batteries for Life Club" walked with some difficulty onto Bonita Beach and opened a bag of popcorn, which she scattered on the sand. Perhaps 20 seagulls immediately flew in and started fighting, squalling, and swarming to get at the treat. When all of it had been devoured, the woman went slowly back to the parking lot and drove herself to a senior citizen in her citizen center in her gated community, where she spent the morning peeing, playing mahjong, and gossiping with her fellow seniors. This is one scene from later in the book. I call this an anti-political absurdist thriller, and here's a scene that explains why I use the word absurdist. Because when I write, you've heard the term pushing the envelope? I like to push the envelope and then take a couple steps over beyond that. And then maybe come back and edit so it's... I took a quote from Ernest Hemingway that I thought was really great. It said, "Write drunk, edit sober." Since I don't drink, I change it to "write crazy, edit rationally." Sometimes, you never know. Anyhow, this is 2 of the main characters are going up to get a hot dog at Deb's hot dog stand on Bonita Beach. And Deb says, "Hey, what do you think about this?" pointing to some green flyers she has. "The Hysterical Society is doing another Swim with the Gator Day next month." "Another what day?" he asked, picking up a flyer. "Swim with the Gator. It benefits the Historical Society. You know, the ones who do the Mayor of Survey fundraiser every 2 years? Yeah, I remember that from last year. But Swim with the Gator? What's that?" "Oh, they bring a 6-footer over from the zoo on Old 41, put him in the city pool by the library, and any daredevil who gets in and stays in for a full minute gets a $25 gift certificate. And they charge $10 a head for the public to come and watch. Last year they raised over $5,000. He raised his eyebrows and said, "Wait a minute, people voluntarily get in the pool with a live alligator? That's crazy." "Oh yeah, well last year they had over 40 guys give it a shot and all but 3 came out unscathed." "What happened to the 3? "1 minor bite, 1 scraped knee, and 1 broken arm, but he did that after getting out of the pool. Tripped on his seeing eye dog." "Oh geez, they all go in together?" "Oh no, 1 at a time." "Well, at least that..." "Wait a minute, he was blind?" "Gotcha." "Oh geez, so no Gator Day?" "No, that's for real. Just that guy actually broke his arm tripping over his walker." "Now you're pulling my leg again, Deb." "Yep, you got me. So what do you think? Want to give it a shot? Me get in with a live gator? No way, Jose. I might pay the $10 to watch. So that's kind of, and then the story within the story. I started first writing the one about the guy that bought the country. And I was talking with people on the beach where I hang out, and most everybody said, wow, I wish it were real, watching what our government is doing so elegantly now. Until one guy said, you know, you write a book like that and the black helicopters will come for you. And I said, it's free speech, it's fiction, but thank you for the plot idea. So now the black helicopter does land on Bonita Beach, people get off, and the author gets all tangled up with them, and that's 2/3 of the story. So 1/3 is the guy buying the country, some assassination plots, some other stuff like that, and the other is that. And the feedback that I've gotten has not been so much about the guy buying the country and his policies. Feedback I've gotten is polarized. There's too much sex in the book. The sex in the book is too tame. But I did set most of the sex scenes in, are you all familiar with Beach and Tennis Club over by the beach? Yeah. Building 3, I set most of the scenes in 4 condos there on the 6th, 7th, 9th, and 10th floor, right above each other. And in August, I met a couple and mentioned that, and they said, we're staying in Building 3. I go, really? What floor? 9th floor. And they are in one of the condos. So now I only have one owner has been found. I'll find the other 3 and let them know they're in the book.
I'm very familiar with that.
The question was, what percentage of my readers do I guess are into the politics that are described in the 1/3 of the book that's about that? And my cynical side says, 8%. I'm actually more guessing probably 40%, but you got to balance, you know, and then the economists and poli-sci people are going to go, what is this about the sex in that? But I'm not writing a thing with vampires and, you know, all that sort of thing for the mass market. Yes, you asked, who is Bonnie Springs? You'll have to read the book to find out.
How long did it take you before you came out with your first?
How long did it take to come up with a first draft? And I have to answer that a little around, because the whole idea of the book came from conversations I had on the beach that around election time of 2010, for the most part, when they were political conversations, they wound up being damn Democrats, damn Republicans, and that was it. And I finally started asking people, well, if you owned the country, how would you fix it? Damn Democrats, damn Republicans. And I said, well, if I'm going to challenge them, I'm going to try it myself. So I went through and said, okay, what would I do? Common sense, no politics, no special interest, just how would you fix it? And that took about a year. And then when the guy with the black helicopter comment came in, that added another year.
It's a little difficult.
I try to do about 30 pages a week.
30
A week. Thank you all very much. Have a wonderful time. Thank you all. Thank you for coming.